Good morning, gorgeous. It's great to see you. It's good to be out here, albeit a little bit late. But, well, sometimes that's just what happens. Let me show you the garden without mucking about. Here we are, and you can see that the next act, if you like, of the garden is coming up. All of those green fireworks are lilies. And we also have, over there we have gladiolus, and the longer leaves are iris, which I hope will flower this year. We don't know. Oh, there's a bit of grass, I've got to pull that out. Obviously the sporaxis are well and truly finished, but there's something lovely about this massed, finishedness. It's beautiful. Good morning, Amy. So I still enjoy this. And here are the lilies coming up, and you can see the flowers coming. So it does keep going. Look, there's two different sorts here. And, well, the very last of the sedum, which is still quite fabulous. Take a close look. Look at that. Every stage is beautiful. Good morning, everyone. Facebook hasn't said who you are, but I know you're there, so welcome. And this is something that's come out. Oh, and you can see we've had some weather, but here's one fresh flower. A little bit fresh. This is a Spanish iris. There's one that's just opening. And they're really beautiful. They're like Dutch irises in that they're stiff, but they're smaller and they're very, very elegant. And I was not able to show them to you when they were really pretty, but there will be more. I like these ones because they flower for a long time. With irises, it's kind of all happening and then it's gone. And look, here's more lilies. But with those ones, they keep going. So I appreciate that about them. And here are the cineraria. And also, in their aging, they're quite fabulous. Look at this. See, we have purple petals turning brown. And you think, oh, it's finished, but then you get seeds. And that means we get more next year. And, I do nothing for these. They just do it themselves. And behind, you can see the fabulous purple foliage of the cotinus, which I really enjoy. Contrast with this, which I also really enjoy. Oh, and look, you can see that mark on the leaf? That was a cherry blossom petal. The cherry tree has got little bits left on it, but not much. Good morning, Julian. I can see you up there. So this is the time when we focus on the magnolia because it's going to keep going for a long time. It's gotten bigger and bigger over the years. Look at it, it's beautiful. It's the best bit at the moment is up there. And we still have colour from the cineraria. And all of the things that grow here are so much happier because the cherry's been pruned. Look, we've got rose flowers coming up. Everything's just saying, oh my goodness, there's light, I've got energy to grow with now. And look at the autumn crocus are going to be so much better this year because the leaves are like 50% bigger than they were last because they've got light. And these are mad, crazy species lilies, which there was a time when one of them had 20 flowers on a head. It's massive. So all these things to look forward to. And look, there's more lilies. And this is Maria Callas, one of my favourite roses, even though it's, it's not done very well, but I'm hoping it will now. So, turning the camera around. Let me talk about expectations, because that's really what we're talking about today. Sandy, good morning. Good morning, Jen. Good morning. It's beautiful to see you all. And it was a little comment that you made, Linda, I know you'll see this soon enough, about... God, we were talking about manifesting new stuff somehow. Last week is like 50 years ago. But there was a thought about, well, it's been difficult for so long. And it's right, I'm feeling trapped. I'm in a situation where I've got no choice. And the feeling I got from it was that there's an expectation it's going to be difficult. And maybe it will, we don't know. And that's the thing, we don't know. But remember, our expectations are entirely based upon experience. And if you want to create something new in your life, working with the quantum model of reality, which says that how we think and how we feel and how we behave literally creates our lives and our universes, then you've got to put your attention on something else other than what you expect. And of course that's counterintuitive because, my whole life it's been like this, and you're telling me to expect something else before anything's changed? It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. So that's what I want to talk about really, is the fact that even though our expectations can be so hardwired and very difficult to ignore because they're so powerful and we have so much evidence in our memories and our bodies say, oh God, it's going to be like that. It's so convincing. We feel so strongly that it's all going to turn to custard. And it's very easy to put your energy into expecting the custard and the mud and the doo-doo to start flying at any minute. Or maybe not at any minute, but sooner or later it's like, oh yeah, it's going to turn to crap. But maybe that's the place where we have the most power. Because if you are if you are in a situation where something is coming and you don't know what it is, right now, of course everybody in the US is really there right now, really there. Whoever you are, whatever you believe should happen, you're really there. You don't know the outcome. Nobody knows. Mari, good morning. And it's very, very, very easy to say, oh, well, based upon my experience, this is what I extrapolate, this is the information I've gathered, this is what I think, and I've heard these people say this and blah, 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 blah. But that's all from the past. And you just don't know. You can go round and round and round and round, and we've talked about that. But what happens when you do that, particularly when you feel fear or dread or about something, remember, that is a clear thought and an elevated emotion. Doesn't matter if it's a good thought and a positive feeling or a really negative thought and a really negative feeling. When your mind and your body are in agreement, the universe has to honour who you are being. It doesn't have a choice. So it's very normal and natural and human and everything else to pull your energy into anticipating things to be based upon your past experience. But when you do that, you are actually helping to observe those things which maybe you don't want into being. So how does that work? Well, a thought has a frequency. Now, I gained some more understanding about this recently because I've been reading neuroscience from my inspiration, Dr. Joe Dispenza's, his first book. Tons of neuroscience. I do love it. I take it in chunks, but I love it. And what I learned is that we have all these neurons in our brains, right? Most people know we have nerve cells in our brains, and they're electrical, and they communicate with other nerve cells, and they're a little bit like a tree. The tree has roots and it has branches, and the branches of one neuron connect to the roots of another. And if you imagine how many trees and how many branches and roots there are on any tree, except you multiply that number with lots at the end, and make many connections. Now, at each of those connections, you have what's called a synaptic cleft. And if I get this right, at the axon extension, where the axon is the root, and I'm remembering this for me, you see, because, maybe the details aren't that important, but I like to remember. The axon extension, you have these little pods, and they've got neurotransmitters inside them. And when you fire a thought, depending on what that thought is, the frequency of the thought, because thoughts have a frequency, then that frequency actually determines what neurotransmitters get released from the pods to cross the synaptic cleft. So if you're thinking a thought, I'm happy, you're probably going to get dopamine or acetylcholine or something that wakes you up. And if you're thinking I'm feeling sick, you're going to get stress hormones or whatever they are. You get different frequencies depending on what words you think and what thoughts you think and what the feeling is around them. They have different frequencies. It literally affects what chemistry happens in your brain the moment you think that thought. So you've got to start to think whether you want to think that thought. And then what happens is you have that frequency, you have that neurotransmitter, and it jumps the gap, or it actually helps the spark jump a gap. It doesn't jump the gap, but it makes the spark happen. The spark continues in that frequency, and So it goes through the brain. It's like a wave. I've seen film of it. Someone's managed to catch a thought in action, and it looks like this wave spreading out through the brain from a single point. It goes out through the network. It's amazing. And so that process of that electrical process, it's chemical and it's electrical and it's frequency, right? It's frequency. Goes through the brain, creates an electrical signal. It can be measured. This is science. It's not woo-woo. Your thoughts have frequency. Negative thoughts have low frequency. You've got to ask yourself if you want to habitually keep on thinking negative thoughts without trying to do anything about it. Because you're firing up negative frequency and you're sending to the universe and saying, this is my frequency. You're going to match more of that. Okay? So it's very powerful. This is the electrical signal. That's what we do. And then the electrical signal happens, and the wave of electricity and therefore chemistry goes through the cerebral cortex, and then those neurotransmitters speak to the hypothalamus, which is this big boss gland that tells the pituitary what to do. Diane, hello, honey. And then that sends neuropeptides to your hormonal centers. Your hormonal centers wake up and give your body feelings, and you have an emotion. And that emotion has a charge to it. Hell, have you walked into a room where someone was really angry? It's like, oh, you can cut with a knife. Or when someone's really happy and you just walk into the room, you think, oh, this feels good. It has a charge. You can measure it. You can. So that feeling that you have, whatever the feeling is, be it good, bad, or indifferent, if it matches transmission in your brain, and bear in mind, it's the overall sum total of how you think and feel. It's not, the one moment in the whole day that you get your brain and your body to match up, and that's great, and then you go around and be negative and miserable and angry and destructive and everything else through the rest of the day. Well, that's what the universe has to endorse. It's not the one-offs, it's who you are all the time, which is why we have to pay attention and think, shit, do I want to keep doing this? That is the quantum law. That's how it works. You become your thoughts and your feelings, and the universe has to send you more of who you're being. Period. Who are you being right now? And what are you expecting to come to you? What are you expecting to come to you? And what if you change that expectation? Not because anything outside of you is different. Because we already worked out that if you just keep on expecting what you expect and thinking what you think and feeling what you feel and being who you are, nothing is going to change. So what if you do an experiment, and if you've been whoever you've been for a long time, then you might have to keep doing this experiment for a while until it becomes habitual to be someone else. But what if you start expecting something different? What if you start looking at a circumstance that you think, oh my God, that's going to be so hard. And so wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. Who fucking says it's going to be hard? Oh, wait a minute. I do. Because why? Well, because of this memory and that experience and I feel it's going to be hard, right? I just know it's going to be hard. But remember, we worked out, if you think and you feel it's habitual, it becomes normal, it's what your body is used to doing, it's what your brain is used to thinking. That's not the truth. It's just who you're used to thinking and doing and being all the time. And so, of course, your life equals that. So, using this model of reality, and it's not the three-dimensional model of reality, it's not Newtonian physics, which says, well, I've got to wait for something outside of me to change before I'll change, thank you very much. No, this is different. This is saying, well, shit, I've been so negative. If I want more positive in my life, and this is not about thinking positive, right? Because remember, I said, and this is what I learned from my inspiration, Joe Dispenza, bless him. It's not enough to think it. Thinking positive, you can do that till you fart blue. Nothing's going to change. You have to get mind and body in agreement, and that means feeling it and becoming it. And that's why it takes practice. And that's why deciding to do an experiment and to expect something else might take some time and some energy, because you're going to have to choose over and over and over and over again to take a fabulous adventure into the unknown, and it's going to feel wrong and strange and uncomfortable and because remember, your body and your brain, evolutionarily, they're programmed to resist the unknown. Why? Because the known is what we know. We know how to survive in the known, but in the unknown, anything could come and kill us, so we better stay what we know. However, if you want to go somewhere different, you're going to have to go somewhere different. So, that's why there's so much resistance. So it's a kind of it goes round in circles. Except when you break out of the circle, okay, I really have to change my expectations here. Now, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you do actually have to observe yourself and think, well, what am I expecting? Really? Honestly, sit down with a piece of paper or in front of a keyboard if you don't like to write by hand. Sit down, get honest with yourself, journal. What am I expecting here? Really? Really? What are my worst expectations? Get it out. Andrew, you made it. Whee! Get it out. Get real with yourself. Get honest. So what if it's ugly? At least if you see it, you shine light on it, you can change it. If you keep on saying, oh no, I'm positive, everything's fine, well, nothing's going to change. Sometimes what I find in me isn't very pretty. I don't care. It's like, yay, I've seen something, now I can clean it up. So take a good look at yourself. Find out what you really expect to happen. If you expect the crap to come down and bury you 6 foot deep, then write that down. Get really clear about what you actually think and feel about the circumstance that you would like to be different. It hasn't happened yet, but right now you're quantumly saying to the universe, I'm expecting this, I'm expecting this, I'm expecting this. Give me more of this, give me more of this, give me more of this. My mind and my body are in agreement about this is how it's going to be. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. That's what you're doing with your negative expectation. I'm not telling you off, I'm just telling you how it works. Me too. Absolutely. We are not punished for our sins. We are punished by our sins. And our sins are simply our acts of being unconscious, but we don't know who we're being. We don't realise our power. So, to get really clear on what you're thinking, and then understand, right, you've got the sort of top 5 really powerful thoughts you have about, oh my God, I'm expecting this crap to land on me. Okay, so you've worked out what those thoughts are. How do you feel when you think that way? Work it out. Are you scared? Are you defensive? Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to run? It's all survival feelings, but get clear about it. How do you feel? And then, when you've done that, as Joe says, turn the paper over, or turn the page, and, even just pick 1 or 2 of those really not what you want thoughts and think, well, what do I want to think? How do I want to expect this to be? You might need to, might not come down to a couple of thoughts. You might need to think, what do I want to expect? How would I like to anticipate that this is going to turn out? Thoughts totally are actions and actions are thought, but there's a feeling in between. And it's a feeling that, the action is the embodiment, right? But how you feel, you got to have the 3. You got to have the thought and the feeling. And the action that comes out of the thought and the feeling is just an expression of it. So yeah, it all goes together. So how do you want to expect that circumstance to be? What do you want to be anticipating? What do you want to be celebrating? What's the best possible outcome? You must know to some degree. You may not know all of it, but, grab what you can. Write that down. And how will you feel when that happens? Relieved, delighted, overjoyed. Oh, I'm safe. Whatever it is, write it down. Okay, so that's the creative part and the insightful, looking, introspective part. Now, here's the thing. When you're walking through your life, never mind. If you're me, I go into the field and I rehearse those things until I know who I am. Before I ever get out into real life, I go into the unified field and I rehearse being that person, feeling that way. Because when I feel that way and when I am that, it's very natural for me to behave in the way that I want to behave. If I'm feeling the other feelings, I end up doing things that are like those feelings unless I catch myself and go, whoa, just stop right here. So, that's what I do. You got to practice being that person somehow. You got to mentally rehearse. Well, if that's how I want to think and how I feel, given that situation that just happened an hour ago where I completely lost the plot, how would I do that differently? And if I was going to do that differently, how would I do it? What would happen? Mentally rehearse it in your mind, think it through, feel it through. Who would I be walking back into that situation, pushing rewind and replay and doing it differently? Because then you're practicing it for next time. And you literally got to change your expectations on who you're being and how you're being it. And this is how you do it. This is what we have to do. We have to become someone else. And in the context of expectations, it means catching yourself every time you start to feel afraid. Or getting ready to gear up to fight somebody, that person, you think, oh, I hate that person. And round and round your thoughts go about what you're going to say to them and how you're going to make them feel small and all that stuff. It's like, whoa, I don't want to even go there. I've been this pick, create drama and anger person for the last 15 years. I don't want to do that anymore. No. That's so habitual. Okay, who am I when I embrace peace, when I feel love and when I express love? Who am I? How am I going to show up differently? That's what we're doing. So when it comes to changing your expectations, it's still about walking through your life holding a different expectation. Going into the old one and think, oh, hang on, I've got to think something different here. What was it again? Oh, that. Oh, hell, I don't know how that feels, but I can at least entertain the thought. Let me hold that thought for a minute. It's a good thought. Yeah, okay, I don't feel... Let me try and have some gratitude, Paul, g'day, honey. This is the process. I've just got time to say hi and bye. I know I'm out of time. Thank you so much for sharing with me. It's Monday. It's a new week. It's exciting times. Hold the desire and the intention that you want for these times. And feel it as if it's happened. Even though in 3 dimensions it hasn't. Give yourself an advanced taste of that good feeling. Take a risk. You can only feel good. Why not? Why not? Give yourself a taste of the future you desire in advance. Just like having dessert before dinner. Big love. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.